Coach Rene is going to do a bounce back here for us. That was expertly placed on the foot. So lift up that foot. Let's see it. See the bottom of it. Okay, so we've got the Hayes trainers here, and they have segmented the ball of the foot here from the arch and the toe.
Welcome back, all of our parkour nerds out there. Coach Rene here, Coach Tom, and today we're going to be really nerding out on some word choice. And one of the word choices that I get kind of lost with when I'm coaching is the concept of telling people to land on their balls, which isn't quite what we mean, and it is kind of like a word fumble that happens, but really we're talking about the ball of the foot. But I asked some kids, hey, what part of the foot are we trying to land on again? And they'll say balls.
Followed by a bunch of giggles.
Yes, yeah, and I try not to giggle myself. But anyways, what we're actually going to talk about today is whether or not the ball of the foot or the forefoot is actually a good cue, or the toes, if that's a good cue, and where we're trying to land on and why we're trying to land there. So I'm going to let you kind of explain this sort of thought process to our viewers here.
Yeah, so ball of the foot landing is, I think it's a meme in our culture that started a long time ago, that you have to land on the ball of your foot. Everything has to be done on the ball of the foot. But I've found over the course of nearly a decade of coaching that it hasn't always been successful as a cue, and sometimes it actually puts the wrong advice into somebody's head, because the ball of the foot is actually a fairly large target, and if you land too close to your toes, that actually creates some issues, even if you're still on the ball of your foot. So we're going to talk a little bit about this position here. So actually I want to go back to why we would land on the ball of our foot, like in the case of dropping down from height, right? So if we're dropping down from height, coming down from a landing or from a higher point, I want to definitely land on the balls of my feet, because that's going to help me soften the impact. But when it comes to landing in a precision landing, sometimes thinking about landing on the ball of your foot is going to present some issues. So the way I introduce precision jumps to students, in fact, actually, many of us do it here at Origins, is we actually talk about bounce backs. So because we want to learn how to land on the edge, we're going to practice landing on the edge. Now, Coach Rene is going to do a bounce back here for us. That was expertly placed on the foot. So lift up that foot. Let's see it. See the bottom of it. Okay, so we've got the Hayes trainers here, and they have segmented the ball of the foot here from the arch and the toe. So the toe is actually a really dangerous spot to land. Some people can actually stick their jumps on their toes. Actually, many people can, but it puts you at risk of slipping and also potentially getting that dreaded ankle thingy, because the lever of the foot is longest at the toes.
This is like a toesy landing.
That's a toesy landing.
People say toesy, and it can feel really soft though.
It can feel soft.
It can feel super soft, but it's also, as you mentioned, dangerous because you're like centimeters away from actually missing your target.
Precisely. Your margin of error is so small here, whereas if you're aiming a little bit more for the ball of the foot, you have more margin of error. But this is also the ball of the foot right here, the front of the ball of the foot. And if people think about landing on the edge with the front of the ball of the foot, that's also setting them up for failure. It's setting them up for an ankle thingy or a toe slip. So when I instruct people how to land, I actually encourage them to make errors more towards the arch. And I say actually the sweet spot is where the ball of the foot meets the arch. And the reason that's the sweet spot is because, one, you can catch the landing, the edge, a little bit easier in that position, but also you're not going to be able to jump very effectively off of your toes, so you really shouldn't be landing there either. Right? You should be landing on a position where you can have maximum push off, which includes the entirety of the ball of the foot and not just that, front half section of the ball of the foot.
It's a big ball.
It's a big ball. Can we get you to do another precision landing? This time we'll actually try to stick
Ooh,
it.
precision.
Let's see if that consistency is on point. Oh, dang. All right, can you hold that there?
Yep.
All right. Actually, no adjustment needed. That's pretty fantastic. So as you see here, you probably can't see exactly the anatomy of his foot right now, but his toes are all the way up here, and the ball of his foot is completely on the wall, which is a really good sign. Now, if he makes any errors, go forward a little bit, Rene. So if he makes any errors, the arch here, this is actually still a good landing. This isn't a bad landing. Go a little bit further, go a little bit further. This is where it starts to become a problem. This is pretty deep in the arch. It's
gross.
probably gonna be painful when he hits the edge. And it also may increase the likelihood of a slip forward. Oh, that was a good demo. And then obviously he's gonna wanna avoid his heels, unless of course there's the scenario where you gotta land on your heels, which we're not gonna talk about today. But I just wanted to talk today about the culture that we have in parkour around don't land on your arches, land on the ball of your feet. Some people actually say land on your toes, and I think that is so wrong. We need to be more open to the different possibilities of landing. Now, if you land on your toes, is that a bad thing? It can be, but also you could land well on your toes, as you already mentioned.
Sometimes
it works really nicely and you stick it and you're like, whoa, I landed really toesy on that. It seemed sketchy in the air, but I stuck it really nicely, right?
it's also like kind of one of those things where if you were aiming for that, it's like you're on point.
Yeah, exactly. And there's gonna be scenarios where landing on your heels or something like along those lines is actually gonna be beneficial in the case of some plyos or other scenarios. Landing on the arch is also something that people say, don't land on your arches. Arches are bad, arch club, right? Well, landing on arches sometimes is very effective because if you land, especially on a railing, if you land on your arch here, you can potentially roll forward and push off into another jump. I'm not saying that deep in the arch is a good landing, but I am saying that we need to be more open to the possibilities of landing on the foot. And in particularly, when coaching beginners, I always suggest avoiding landing anywhere near the toes because most beginners aren't conditioned in the ankle to even absorb that impact. And I don't want them to start off their parkour journey with a slip bail or an ankle thingy because we all know how much that sucks.
So what he's talking about here too is Coach Tom is talking about the length of the lever too. So if I land here, it's much, or higher up, it's much more likely that I'm gonna get more of a crank. Whereas down here, I actually don't get as much ankle play. And so if I'm a beginner and I'm just trying to have some fun, learn how to do something like a precision jump, maybe not a perfect one right away, getting a little bit lower, totally fine and less likely to crank that ankle.
Exactly. All right. Well, that's our discussion on landings for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, give us a like. Leave us a comment below on where you prefer to land your precision jumps on your foot. Subscribe, and we'll see you next one.